This is Freedom Investor Radio, and I'm John Pearl. It hit me like a freight train when I realized there was a better way. When I discovered that I could take my future into my own hands. When I realized I could invest my way to freedom. This is what I'm working towards. In each episode of Freedom Investor Radio, we will explore the tactics and strategies used by the top real estate investors and entrepreneurs in the nation. We will learn how you can start investing your way to freedom and take control of your life. Thanks so much for tuning in. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Freedom Investor Radio. I'm your host, John Pearl. Today, I am joined by Keishia Kennedy. Keishia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So Keishia is the founder of Kennedy Remedy Investments, and she is coming to us live from Kuwait. Am I right?
Yes.
All right. So
yes,
Keishia, I'm gonna hand it over to you. Why don't you give us take as much time as you need and give us a background on kind of how you were raised into early adulthood. What was your level of financial literacy? Was there any talk of entrepreneurship, real estate investing in your household, and kind of how you came to be a real estate investor?
Yes, let's dive right into it. I love it. So as you mentioned, my name is Keishia Kennedy. I am residing in Kuwait, which is about an hour flight away from Dubai. A lot of people know where Dubai is located. And I live here. I've been living here for 5 years. However, I am from the Richmond, Virginia area, and my father was in the military. So I'm a military brat. So I have lived all over the world. I was born in Germany, moved to Kentucky, Colorado, California, back to Virginia, and I graduated high school in Virginia. And so growing up, no one ever educated me and set me down on financial literacy. And my father had owned property. My grandmother owned property. My great-grandfather owned property as well. So my father inherited a house from his mother when she passed away. And during that time, I was probably like a teenager during that time and going to middle school. And so I did see him, putting in the work through going to Tampa, Florida to speak to the property managers and doing repairs. But he never sat me down and said, "Hey, Keishia, you need to invest in assets to build that generational wealth and financial freedom." And so in 2011, I started investing as a residential investor. And I said, hey, I need to make sure that I am building wealth and investing in an asset. I did see my father doing it, and it was definitely beneficial for our family because he was able to support us with anything that I needed. Growing up as a child, I didn't have to want for anything. So I bought my first property in 2011 when the market first crashed. It was a residential home for $29,500, and it included the lot next door. It was built in 2010. It was a bank foreclosure, and all I had to do was go in and pull up the floors and put down tile, and that's what I did. And I was actually residing in Kuwait when this happened because I was a contractor back then. And so I had my parents go view the property, and they gave me a thumbs up. And I purchased it, and I was self-taught at that time. I had to figure out what to do. Okay, so now I purchased the property. What do I do next? And so I rented it out to Section 8, which is now known as the Housing Choice Voucher today. And I figured it out. So my first check, I still have a copy of my check. It's in my email that my father had sent me, which was $823. And so imagine I spent $29,500 on my first house, and it came with the lot next door. And my first check was $823. So I'll let everyone do the math and figure out how fast I got return on my investment. And so the next year I purchased my second home. And then the year after that, I purchased a duplex, and I continued this cycle. And so fast forward to this year, which we're now in 2022, we just had a new year. I have started investing in commercial assets. And the reason being is because I wanted to scale. I wanted to build generational wealth. I wanted to leave a legacy. I want to show others that they can build that net worth through real estate. And so last year, I wanted to purchase an apartment complex. And that's basically what I did. But the first thing I did was educate myself. Unlike when I started in residential, I was self-taught. I didn't want to do that this time. I wanted to educate myself. So I started reading, listening to podcasts, reading blogs, attending meetups. And that's when I came across the word apartment syndication. I said, oh, there's a smarter way to invest in an apartment other than by myself. I can have partners, I can scale, I can leverage, use their experience. And that's what I did. And I got around like-minded people that had the same goals and created partnerships. And so in May, my first apartment that I invested in passively as a limited partner was in Richmond, Virginia, 27 units, and then 81 units in Florence, Kentucky, 19 units in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Columbia, South Carolina, it was 24 units, 56 units we just closed in December. And upcoming on our next deal is Des Moines, Iowa, and we're going to close next month. So it moved so fast compared to my residential journey in comparison to commercial. So that's basically about how I got started in real estate and how much education I had on financial literacy.
Well, that's a very cool story. A lot to unpack there. A couple of things I love is that you were, you learned just by observation, kind of growing up and seeing the power that investing in real estate can have. And the next thing is, none of that would be possible if you weren't taking action. So, nothing bad can come out of taking action. You either are successful or you learn from your mistakes and you keep going, right? So you mentioned wanting to build generational wealth. What was it about multifamily versus single family that really attracted you in terms of scaling up and building multi-generational wealth?
Yes, that's a good question. So I realized that if you have one single family house and then you compare it to a 10-unit building, for example, and if I have a vacancy from the single family house, I have zero cash flow. Whereas if I have one vacancy in my 10 unit, I still have some cash flow. So that was one of the reasons, like, man, I can still have cash flow if I purchase or invest in bigger units in commercial. So that was a no-brainer. And then also creating a partnership. So I'm able to leverage my partner's experience to get in these bigger deals that I wouldn't be able to get in by myself or without my limited partners. So those are the two main reasons why I wanted to build generational wealth. And then I also would like to add because I know you had mentioned about financial literacy, if it was taught in my family. I forgot to mention that my father also owned a private security company, and I was working for him when I was attending VCU in Richmond, Virginia. And then also he had a martial arts school as well after he retired from the military. So I got to see him run two businesses, and I wanted to be, he's always been one of my role models. And so that's another reason why I decided to scale into multifamily commercial. I've also had two other businesses previously, Kennedy Remedy Kennedy Remedy Fitness, and then Breaking the Chains Bail Bonds as well. But I know the best way to build generational wealth is through real estate. And so because of that, I have closed those two businesses.
Amazing. Yeah. So kind of got that entrepreneur in your blood. And
yes.
I love that. So back to the multifamily. So you mentioned kind of learned as you went on the single family stuff, and then you wanted to get into the bigger family or into the multifamily bigger stuff. So you wanted to get educated. And for those that don't know, syndication is when a group of people pool their resources together to purchase a larger asset. And there's two parties. There's the general partnership who manage the operation, and the limited partners who are the passive investors. So what Keishia is saying is she started off as a passive investor, one of the limited partners. And how did that process play into your learning experience, being a passive investor, a limited partner in the bigger scheme of things?
Yes. And so John did explain it well. I wanted to start off as a limited partner. And the reason being is because I wanted to have the experience as an investor would be if I was a general partner on the deal. I want to understand everything about the deal and get educated and walk myself through being a limited partner with the general partners. And so it has played a key success in my journey thus far. So I was able to analyze the deal, ask the general partner all the questions that I didn't understand about the deal. And they were educating me on it because, hey, this is a different type of investment. Commercial and residential is not equal whatsoever. There are many terms that aren't used in residential as it is in commercial. And so I had to get educated first. And that's the best way to do it, is to invest as a limited partner. So I was able to vet my sponsors. I was able to actually go see this property as well. And I invested in the deal in May, and I received my first distribution in November. So as a limited partner, you will receive quarterly distributions 4 times throughout the year. And that comes from the cash flow of the property. And then on top of that, you will also receive the net profit from the sale. Once we sell the property, 3 to 5 years, or however long the holding period is. So I really enjoy investing passively as a limited partner because I'm receiving tax benefits. I'm receiving the cash flow distribution that I just mentioned, and I'm also receiving the profit from the sale. So if you are active and you are working a W-2 job and you just don't want to manage the toilets, tenants, and trash, this is absolutely a good way to invest your money into deals while receiving the benefits and building towards that generational wealth, which we all desire in financial freedom.
100%, 100%. So the limited partner side of things, that's how a lot of people get started in the space. As you just mentioned, you get to learn as you're investing, you get to participate in all the benefits, but you also get to learn. And the great thing about syndications is you can get other people involved. You can spread the wealth, spread the returns. A lot of people like to invest as limited partners who are business owners, busy professionals, retirees. It gives you that truly passive income. It's the only form of truly passive income that I'm aware of out there in real estate.
Yes.
So Keishia, let's move over. You are in Kuwait.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. That's
yes.
That's
Let's
kind
talk
of,
about
I think that would hold a lot of people back. What are you doing? How are you able to do this? So I know a lot of people here in the US are not investing in their own backyards. Let's talk about some tips and tricks. How have you been able to do this? You're overseas. How are you able to make this happen?
Yes. And so that's exactly how I started 10 years ago. When I was over here the first time as a military contractor, I was overseas. So I knew that I would be able to do it on a larger scale in commercial space. And it's all about teamwork, strategically creating a partnership. And so, as I mentioned previously, I surrounded myself by like-minded people. I got a coach and a mentor that helped me to create a nice goal and plan for myself. And I just basically network. That was the key to my success, getting on networking calls, finding out how I can add value to someone else and vice versa, because it's a give and take in this commercial space. And this is not a I business. This is a we business. And so by me creating partners, that's how I was able to take on these larger assets. So as a general partner, we have different roles, and the roles of a general partner are finding the deal, underwriting the deal, boots on ground, doing the due diligence, raising the capital, asset management. And so my role in the multifamily commercial space is helping raising capital and asset management. And so I was able to create a partnership with other people that are located in different states so we can take down these larger assets. So of course I can't do the boots on the ground or the due diligence. So I have to find a role, and I really enjoy this role, right? You want to find something that you enjoy doing so that it's not a second job. This is a business, and it should be treated as so you can be successful. So that's basically how I am taking down these larger assets from another country, thousands and thousands of miles away from the States, in states that I have not even dreamed about investing in whatsoever. And it's because I have someone that's an expertise in that state and knows that market. And so that's how I'm able to take down those bigger deals.
And I'd imagine you're utilizing Zoom or other means of communicating with people, virtually. And that's been a big
Yes.
part in the reason I've been able to get started in this as well. The pandemic, everybody's hopping on Zoom, getting to know each other. So there's no excuses anymore about networking. You can hop on, there's literally meetups every day of the week that you can attend virtually. And that's amazing that you're doing that.
Yes,
So
COVID has definitely taken us that way where we have to be on a Zoom call. Prior, people was not using Zoom whatsoever.
yeah, it's kind of a blessing in disguise. So
Yes.
you're working a W-2 job as a contractor right now. How does your skill set in your W-2 job, if at all, play a role in what you're doing and in the multifamily space?
Yes. So my who in, for investors is actually the military. I've narrowed it down. And so it's the military and also minorities. And so I can listen to the military clients that we have coming through our office, listening to the type of issues or problems that they have and the reason why they want to get out the military. And most of them want to get out the military is, for financial freedom and generational wealth and, creating that, leaving that legacy for their family and also finding a stable job that can produce that income to provide for their family. So that allows me to come up with a plan for my investors and to also educate them on generational wealth while they're inside of the military, active and inactive. So that's one of the skill sets that I can use and leverage by being on my W-2 job and just building up that communication and being able to speak to other people and getting comfortable and educating, because it's all about the reps that you do. So at first, when I first started out, I wasn't confident, but now fast forward, it's been like a year in May, I am more confident about speaking on syndication and educating other people. So the W-2 job definitely helps. And it also helps me to also invest in other assets passively. So I'm using that income to invest in other assets. And that's part of the reason why I'm here, because I am receiving tax-free benefits while living outside of the US.
Love it. That's great. So you did mention a little bit of a, mindset there, the confidence and talking to people about this. How has shifting your mindset played a role in, moving up from single family to investing as a limited partner passively into being on the general partnership side of things? What have you done to help with that mindset shift? Because there definitely is a mindset shift that needs to happen.
Yes, and it all started from my first coach. He is really big on mindset, and I had a limited belief when I first started because, again, like I mentioned, there are different roles when you are a general partner. And he said, "Hey, you can raise capital, you can attract capital," and I'm like, "What? You want me to ask someone for money?" I'm not asking. He said, "No, you are not asking. You're correct. You're correct. You are raising capital." And he said, "You have to get that, inside of your mind." And so that's what I did. I started posting on social media and people started gravitating towards me. And I said, man, I guess it's not easy, but it takes time, right? You have to build up that credibility. And so my mindset had shifted. I went from a fixed mindset, as I would say, to a growth mindset. And it allowed me to reach so many goals in 2021 that I would have never imagined. And it's all because of my coach. And it's all because of believing in myself and having that confidence that, yes, I can achieve what other people are achieving. There are so many people in the world that are raising capitals. You have crowdfunding, you have funds that people are creating, these investors are creating. So if they can do it, I can do it too. And it all starts with mindset and being confident and educating yourself. Because if you aren't confident on the phone with an investor, they're not going to have confidence in you.
Absolutely. And it kind of comes back to, I went through the same thing and I go through the same thing still, asking people for money, quote unquote. It's not asking people for money. You're providing them an opportunity. Like I truly believe in this investment space and I'm passionate about it. And it's how I plan to leave my job. And I just want to share this with as many people as possible. So we're providing opportunities. And, I think a lot of people have trouble getting over that hump. But you also mentioned a mentor. Now, what are your thoughts? Is a mentor necessary for success in investing in large multifamily properties, or can you do it without a mentor? What are your thoughts on that?
A mentor is definitely required, and I would definitely suggest it. Yes, of course, you can do it without a mentor, but why would you do that when you have someone that has been there, done that? And you can go to them with all the questions and they can provide you the answers. Because again, I was self-taught in residential and I did not want to go through that in the commercial space. I learned so much being in the residential space, and I could have avoided so much if I had a mentor when I was investing as a residential investor. So I did not want to go through that again. So I actually have 3 mentors now. And I absolutely love it. So I have 3 coaches that can point me in the right direction. And it has definitely led me to my success, because I can look back and say, man, if I would have tried to take on these big deals by myself, I would not be where I'm at today. So it's definitely imperative that you have a coach. And I would definitely do the same if I had to do it all over again in the residential space. A coach needs a coach. You know, you need someone that's going to be able to help you succeed and pass all your dreams and your goals that you have set aside for yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You know, I've worked with coaches and mentors for various aspects of this business, and yeah, you can really avoid a lot of heartache by working with somebody who's experienced. Now, these coaches, they can be a bit pricey. And what about your thoughts on, if you don't have the money to purchase or pay for a coach, are there any other ways that you can, maybe provide value to somebody with other experiences, or do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, because it is definitely an investment. But again, in order to make money, like they say, you have to spend money. And the best investment that you can make is on yourself. You have to look at the value that you're going to get provided from these coaches and mentorship programs that you're going to get in comparison to the free education. YouTube University is only going to teach you so much. So if you cannot afford a mastermind or a coach or a mentor, the second way that you can be successful is reaching out to people that are in the space, in the commercial space, residential space, and say, hey, how can I add value to you? For example, if you are a website designer and you want to start investing and you don't have the capital to invest in on a mastermind, and you reach out to me because you've seen my website that, hey, Keishia could use a little bit touch up on her website. Let me reach out to her and offer my services in exchange for her helping me or teaching me or mentoring me to get in the commercial space. Or also, so I can, help her with another aspect in her business that she's failing with, in other than the website development that she needs to improve. So there's other ways that you can create a partnership if you do not have the capital. So do not let that deter you from reaching your goals, because I do have a lot of people that have reached out and said, hey, how can I add value? Or, hey, are you a mentor? And at this time, I am not a mentor, but I always say, if I ever need you, I will be able to reach out to you. Let me know how you can provide value to me, and then I can let you know how I can provide value to you and help you to reach your goal in the commercial space. So do not let the price of a mastermind intimidate you or deter you from your goals. And then there's also meetups as well. Meetup is a like-minded network meeting where you can meet other people that are trying to reach the same goals and invest. Heck, I just finished attending a meetup right before this podcast, and it was an hour. And again, I'm way in Kuwait, and they started at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Breakfast Multifamily, I believe that's the name of it. So there are other ways that you can get educated and seek some value in investing in commercial space. And then, of course, there's blogs, like I mentioned earlier, podcasts, and books as well, if you are on a limited budget. So start investing.
There you go, people. No excuses.
Yes.
All right, so the name of the show, Freedom Investor Radio. And, I consider myself a freedom investor. I'm not investing for the material objects. I'm investing to have control over my time, over my life, to be able to live life on my own terms. Also, for those that aren't aware, I work at a nuclear power plant that's closing down in 2025. So I'm on a set time, and I'm using real estate to replace my W-2 income. And Keishia, what what would you say for anybody else who's out there looking to eventually get out of their W-2 job? For my coworkers, how can people use real estate to get involved and replace, at least supplement their income to improve their lifestyle? What would you say to people in that boat?
Yes, I would say that 95% of the millionaires have invested in real estate. So that tells you right there that they have gotten off of the stock market roller coaster. They're taking control of their lives by investing in real estate. So they're building up an investment for their portfolio and for financial freedom. So basically, you can start investing. This is 2022. You can start investing this year. You can either start investing by house hacking. You can buy a house, live in on one side and rent out the other, or you can buy a quad and do the same. You can flip a house. You can invest in on a syndication. There are many ways that you can invest in real estate. There's also mobile homes. There are storage units as well that you can invest in. But my favorite method of investing is through commercial assets. And I went over the reasons why earlier. And you can invest in it on a syndication and just invest passively. And that would allow you to leave your W-2 in 2025, which is 3 years. And so you might be saying, well, how can I invest if I don't have the capital? You can also invest from your 401k. You can invest from your self-directed IRA. There are many ways that you can invest in real estate, or you might not have the capital. You can also look at your expenses, do a budget, and save up so you can purchase your first home where you can rent it out. There are many ways that you can invest in real estate other than commercial assets as well.
Yeah, I found once I made the decision that I wanted to do this, I didn't have the money at the time to start investing passively, but then, good things started happening. Made the decision to invest, had to get my finances in order, stopped paying for stupid things on a monthly basis, stopped buying things I don't need, started saving that money to invest. But yeah, that's great stuff. So what about any books that you've read that have really just changed your outlook on money, your life, that you'd recommend?
Yes, of course. The Millionaire Next Door, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Those are the two books that have changed my life on financial literacy. But the real one, I would say, for the end of last year and the beginning of this year is Who, Not How. So being able to niche down on who can help me create a successful business for Kennedy Remedy Investments, not how am I going to do it, right? So that book is by Dan Sullivan, Who, Not How. I highly suggest it, and it will help you reach your goal if you are in the syndication space or any type of business. Find out who can help you reach your goal, not how.
Those 3 books that you just mentioned would definitely fall into my top 5 for books that have changed my life in terms of financial literacy and business. Those are life-changing. That's awesome.
Yes.
All right. Yes. So let's talk about, we're still relatively early in the year. It's January still at the time of this recording. What are some accomplishments you're proud of in 2021, and what do you got going on moving forward into 2022?
Yes. So I am so proud of being able to close with my partners on the 56 unit in Waco, Texas last month on our first deal together. Really excited about that. I'm just speechless, to be honest, but it's all about being around like-minded people, networking, creating strategic partners to take down those big deals, like I mentioned earlier. So that's my biggest accomplishment. And then also going from a growth mindset to a fixed mindset earlier part of the year of 2021. So for 2022, I plan on still networking, still going to as many meetups as possible. I also, my goal for this year is to help raise capital and asset manage with my partners. I'm also looking to build a educational webinar. So this month, actually, next week, next Monday is my first educational webinar. And we are going to be speaking. I have a guest speaker speaking on leveraging your 401k and your IRA to invest in multifamily commercial assets and also residential assets. So every month I will be doing an educational webinar going forward. And then I plan on being on as many podcasts as possible and just continuing to leverage my social media platform to educate as many people as possible on investing in commercial assets while creating a partnership so people can create that generational wealth, financial freedom, because we are impacting other people that are in the community. So we're impacting the tenants by using our value add strategy because a lot of people can't afford a home. So I truly enjoy the value add strategy that we're using.
Keishia, how can people get in touch with you or follow you if they wanted to check you out and see what you got going on?
Yeah, sure. So I can be reached on LinkedIn. That's one of my favorite new platforms now, Keishia Kennedy. And then also on Facebook, it's Keishia Kennedy. And my business page on Facebook is Kennedy Remedy Investments. The same for the website, www.kennedyremedyinvestments.com. I am also on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and he'll leave it in the show notes. So I won't hold you to that on this podcast, but I do have a gift for your listeners if they are curious or interested to learn more about how they can invest passively into a syndication. I have the beginner's guide to investing as a limited partner in a syndication, and that can be found on my website, kennedyremedyinvestments.com/guide. I hope they found value in that guide.
Excellent. Yeah, and all of that will be linked in the show notes, including the special gift, how to invest passively in a syndication. So, awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Keishia Kennedy, thanks so much for coming on this morning.
Yes, it was a pleasure, and thank you for having me again. I truly enjoyed this podcast with you.
Thank you for listening to Freedom Investor Radio. If you like what you heard, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks again for listening.